tops on, singing to that highway song. Got a little naive smile, the kind that drives you out. Nothing like playing with fire, brings boy to life.
The following is a presentation of the BODOG Sports Media Network.
$14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds worth of sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning, take three. No one has to know what's going on behind the scenes here at 1420 World Headquarters. But for this June the 22nd, 2023, today's show is brought to you by Caldera Lab and calderalab.com. Use promo code 1420LAB at calderalab.com to get 20% off their all-natural men's gear products today. Caldera Lab, the best in the business for men's skincare. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com and check out all their great articles and other podcasts there at bellyupsports.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day each and every day. Sometimes you get it a little bit different. We had some audio problems and videos, this stuff going on here at World Headquarters. It's stuff that's beyond my control sometimes. I don't know how it can still happen after 400 plus of these shows, but it does. But anyways, the Hockey Hall of Fame announced their latest group of enshrinees yesterday. Quite the group of goalie huggers apparently to be joining Carolyn Ouellette and Pierre Turgeon getting into the Hall of Fame. They got the call yesterday. What's going in there? You got Henrik Lundqvist, goaltender, longtime New York Ranger, Mike Vernon, and Tom Barrasso were all elected in the Hall of Fame yesterday. Quite the surprise to me, even though I'm an old goalie hugger myself, an old puck stopper from way back when, been a long time. I was never very good at it, allergic to vulcanized rubber, I guess, one of those things. Lundqvist, he gets in his first year eligibility. That's how I think it should be. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the show, how this voting thing is a bit ridiculous. But Lundqvist, he gets in, longtime Ranger, like I said. Was there for a lot of years, 30-plus wins in 7 consecutive seasons, Vezina Trophy, 2014 Stanley Cup Finals against the LA Kings that they lost. Tough career, tough sledding there against those Kings teams back then. But Lundqvist, all-time great Ranger. He joins Mike Richter and I think Ed Jackman up in the rafters at Madison Square Garden for goalies to have their numbers retired, and nobody's more deserving than King Henrik. He's a great goaltender, great ambassador for the game. I think he's on TNT now as part of their broadcast crew that does a great job of trying to get hockey out of the mass of the United States there. But he's one of the greatest goaltenders in Ranger history. 6 all-time in wins overall in National Hockey League, 459 of them, 918 save percentage, a 2.43 goals against average, 64 career shutouts, on and on. Only the one Vezina Trophy, which was quite surprising to me. I thought he would have had a few more, but he was a finalist for a Vezina Trophy, I think 4 or 5 times, but only the one Vezina Trophy to his credit over his career. A lot of great goaltenders, so it's pretty hard to win those awards, which really don't mean a whole bunch in the big picture of things, but he was one of the best year in, year out, and you could say as a Hall of Famer, he's very deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, because I think you have to be one of the best no matter what for a certain one of not, if not or the best actually, to even have consideration of getting a Hall of Fame. And Lundqvist was definitely that. Backstops some great Ranger team, backstops some not so great Ranger teams, and they sorely missed in net for a few years there. They got Shesterkin now there, but King Henrik, there was no one quite like him. Seemed like quite the classy guy as well, on and off the ice. Never had a bad thing to say. Played for those Team Sweden, obviously. I think he got the 1 gold medal with Sweden, which is odd because Sweden never wins. And why doesn't Sweden ever win? Too many Swedes. But he'll be joining his fellow countryman, who was a big Swedish Fest, getting in the Hall of Fame last year with the Sedin brothers and Daniel Alfredsson. I think there was somebody else that got in there too, but I can't much remember. It doesn't much matter. But anyways, it's a very deserving honor for Henrik Lundqvist, a longtime Ranger, great ambassador to the game, like I said, and he was pulling that at Madison Square Garden can be tough, but he did it with class and dignity throughout his career. And getting in your first ballot Hall of Famer, that's how you should get in. You shouldn't get better over age unless you're using Caldera Lab, and things do get a little little bit better with age, but he got in on his first ballot, first chance, 90-some% of the votes, whatever it might be. But it was good to see him get in the goaltender. So there's not a lot of goalies who get in year after year, but he's definitely deserving. The next two guys that got in the Hall of Fame, I'm not exactly sure how they got in and why after 20 plus years they were even thought about to go in the Hall of Fame, because how you get better as the years progress and how you become a Hall of Famer when you were never really a Hall of Famer in your first 20 years of eligibility, and then all of a sudden they just pop a guy in. There's lots of people who are more deserving than these next two guys I'm going to talk about, but we'll talk about them later on tonight. We got some special guests coming on the show to talk about the Hockey Hall of Fame, so it's going to be interesting to see what their views are. But let's start with Tom Barrasso, who last played 20 years ago. He was a longtime Penguin, started his career off with the Buffalo Sabres. Right out of high school, he got drafted, I can't remember, somewhere in Massachusetts, I believe. Right out of high school, won the Vezina Trophy his first year in the National Hockey League, along with the Calder Trophy for the Rookie of the Year. And he was a good goaltender, 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think they could have had me in net with those Penguins teams and won a Stanley Cups. They had a few good hockey players. Ronnie Francis was on there, and some guy named Yammer, another guy named Mario, who kind of got things going there with Pittsburgh Penguins, saved that franchise, and we all know that story. But I think they could have had anybody in net, and Tom Barrasso was just happy to be the guy to be there. I never thought he was a great goaltender. I thought he was a good goaltender. I thought he was a serviceable goaltender, one of those guys that, like the Vegas Golden Knights just had. He was good enough, made all the hard saves, or made all the easy saves, a few of the hard ones, and then you get yourself a Stanley Cup. One of those things that they had Scotty Bowman coaching there for one of those cups. And he was a good, like I said, he was a good goaltender, but I don't think Tom Barrasso was ever getting his, unless you were a left-handed goaltender, maybe the goalies kind of looked up to those kind of guys, and you would emulate those guys like Grant Fuhr's left-handed goaltender as well. But I don't remember a lot of people getting Tom Barrasso posters for their walls back when I was a fledgling goaltender myself, back in the mid 80s and early 90s. You never saw people collecting Tom Barrasso hockey cards. Turns out the guy was, I heard he's a bit of a not a nice guy, a bit of a nozzle to rookie teammates and everything else. He wasn't the nicest guy going around, but and that can keep you out of the Hall of Fame too. And he wasn't the nicest guy to the media, and the media is the one who votes on things. So it's quite surprising 20 years later that he would get in to the Hall of Fame, which is odd because, like I said, he was never really a great goaltender, pretty average. Like all his stats were just there. Yeah, he has the one Vezina, like I said, so he was great for the 1 year. His rookie year came on right out of high school, so took the hockey world by storm. But is Tom Barrasso a Hall of Famer? In my opinion, not even close. He's not as good as a bunch of guys we'll talk about later on, but he's not a guy you ever thought about. You wanted Tom Barrasso on your team, and that's what a Hall of Famer is. You want a guy to be able to insert a guy here, insert a guy there, and yeah, he got the 2 Stanley Cups, but like I said, they could have had me in net there, and they would have been fine with Mario and Yammer and the rest of them. The other guy that got in the Hall of Fame. This one's even more confusing to me because I never considered this guy a great goaltender at all. Yeah, we watched Mike Vernon a lot here on 2 and 7 Sports with Ed Whalen and the like back in the day when they played the games on 2 and 7, which is now global. But anyways, Mike Vernon was a good goaltender, won the Stanley Cup in '89 with the Flames. Was he the reason why they won the Stanley Cup? Probably not. Al McInnes was the MVP, won the Conn Smythe Trophy that year. They kind of almost won a Stanley Cup that year in spite of Mike Vernon there in Calgary, and he was never a great goaltender, never put up great stats. He was kind of long-time Flame, like I said, but he never won a Vezina Trophy, so he's never even considered one of the best goalies for one season, let alone to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame for an all-time great. He was all-time good, all-time really good, maybe, kind of give him that, but not a Hall of Famer by any chance. Maybe it's been it could be just one of those things where I've seen him play so often, but I also seen him take some Calgary teams that should have had longer playoff runs. Yes, they had the Oilers to match up against back then, but Mike Vernon was the kind of goaltender who never really shone in those big moments. He was never that guy that got anything done. Yes, he did win another Stanley Cup with Detroit, and I think '97 it was, and he got the Conn Smythe Trophy that year. But once again, that was a team of all-stars, and they could have had anybody in net. Then for Mike Vernon to be lucky enough to be in that position to get himself a Stanley Cup with Detroit, it's just one of those things. They could have once again had anybody in net. Mike Vernon's not a Hall of Famer in my opinion. Tom Barrasso's not a Hall of Famer in my opinion. These guys aren't guys you would draft in an expansion draft if you were given a team and say you can have any goaltender to play at any time. These guys would be so far down the list of guys that you would pick to be on your hockey club. In my opinion, they were good goaltenders. They were serviceable goaltenders, but not Hall of Famers at all. Maybe I got like I said, the playoff failures that the Flames had. You can't blame everything on on one player, but in most sports, but usually if your goaltender doesn't have a good playoff round and 4 games go by pretty quickly, and Mike Vernon was that kind of guy. He just wasn't good enough, in my opinion, most of the time for the Calgary Flames. He was a good goaltender, not a great goaltender, and great goaltenders go in the Hall of Fame, not good goaltenders. And Mike Vernon and Tom Barrasso, to me, are on that. Why they got these guys in now 20 years later, I have no idea how that works and how they get better with age and how they end up being Hall of Famers at that point is a mystery to me, because it just doesn't make any sense to me how they do that. I know they want to have 6 players go in every year for the TV and everything else, and they want to keep it to that. But I think if you're a Hall of Famer 20 years later, you should be a Hall of Famer your first year, like Henrik Lundqvist was. If you get enough votes your first year, and if they can't find enough guys to put in the Hall of Fame, which there are guys that should be in the Hall of Fame, Alexander McGillney, they probably should find guys that should be there their first year and put them all in. Have a weekend. Well, here's one I just thought of. Have a weekend where, like, the NHL draft is coming up next weekend. Do the draft on Friday. Do the Hall of Fame inductions on Saturday, where you could have all day. Put in 15, put in 20 guys. Put in all the guys who were eligible this year, instead of having the 6 voted and guys go in when in a year of eligibility 20 when they should be year 1. Have that on the Saturday, and then have the NHL awards on Sunday. Wrap it up in a nice tidy bow. See you later. That's how the Hockey Hall of Fame should do it. But they do some ceremony. It's a 2-hour ceremony that nobody really watches anyways. You might watch your own player going in, your own guy. You might watch his little snippet, his speech, and that's it. So if they did it in July or June or whatever it might be, have a full day, and then just have. If you have 20 ceremonies, if you have 20 speakers, let them all speak and see you later, because no one's going to watch that whole thing anyways. So it's odd that the way the NHL does it. It's odd the way the Hockey Hall of Fame votes these guys in X amount of years later, and how they get better with age. It doesn't make any sense to me. It will never make sense to me. And in my opinion, Mike Vernon is not a Hall of Famer. Tom Barrasso is not a Hall of Famer. Henrik Lundqvist is a Hall of Famer. Yes, there are championships involved with Mike Vernon and with Tom Barrasso, but Lundqvist is a much better goaltender, much better ambassador to the game than those other 2 guys are. There might be a little bit of sour grapes still from 1983, when Mike Vernon shunned my Lethbridge Broncos and he decided to go play with the Portland Winterhawks in the Memorial Cup after an injury to Ken Reggett in the finals, when back in the Western League, you used to be able to pick up a goaltender to go to the Memorial Cup just for playoff reasons and for injury reasons alike. And Mike Vernon decided to go and play with the Portland Winterhawks, and they ended up beating my Lethbridge Broncos in the Memorial Cup with guys by the name of Cam Neely was on that team. I think Alfie Turcotte was another long-time Portland Winterhawk. So there might be some sour grapes still from 1983 coming up there. But in my opinion, those 2 guys are not Hall of Famers at all. Hall are pretty good. Hall are really good, I guess you give them that. But it's crazy to think that the 2 guys got voted in. That as a goalie hugger, like I am, like I said, I don't think that Mike Vernon is a Hall of Fame guy at all. I don't. He's just not that kind of guy. Like I said, we watch him a lot here in Calgary, in Southern Alberta. He was on TV a lot, and he just didn't seem like that kind of guy that was ever going to be in the Hall of Fame. And how 20 years later you all of a sudden become the greatest goaltender since Martin Brodeur, because that's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. That kind of guy's a Hall of Famer. And how these guys are somehow got in, and Curtis Joseph, who's miles ahead of these guys in career victories and everything else, how he's not in. Did Joseph have a ton of playoff success? No, but the playoff success that Mike Vernon was granted and the playoff success that Tom Barrasso was granted were because of the teams in front of them. And to me, I would put Curtis Joseph in a heartbeat before I would put these 2 guys in. They're not Hall of Famers, and that's just the way I see it. And if anybody wants to disagree with me, you're more than welcome to drop us a line at 1420sports@gmail.com, or else go to our Facebook and our Twitter accounts and at me, I guess is the way it is. But anyways, later on tonight, going to have 2 friends of the show. Dave Roberts making his 3rd appearance on the 1420 Sports Bar podcast, along with Kent Hare. He's going to join Dave tonight. Kent's Dave's cousin, but Kent's a longtime hockey fan, funny guy. Haven't seen him for quite some time. We might talk about our trip down to Denver, Colorado that we took many moons ago and had a good time there. But be good to have those guys. We're going to talk nothing but the Hockey Hall of Fame and everything else, and our thoughts on the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame voting and who got in and who shouldn't have. Congratulations to Carolyn Ouellette, who should have probably gotten the Hall of Fame last year, but she got one of the best resumes in Canadian hockey history, not just women's hockey, Canadian women's hockey, but in women's hockey in general and in Hockey Canada in general. She has a resume that's can't be matched by very many, maybe Haley Wickenheiser, and that's about it. But congratulations to her going in. Pierre Turgeon, I don't think is a Hall of Famer. Y'all are really good, but there's a lot of guys that should have gone in ahead of him. Alexander McGillney. is one for sure. But anyways, we'll talk about those guys tonight. So congratulations to Carolyn Willette for getting in the Hockey Hall of Fame, as well as Ken Hitchcock and Pierre Lacroix, I think it was. Yes, it was, for his years of service with the Colorado Avalanche. Anyways, if you are a golfer and you are looking for a new challenge to play a golf course and live in Southern Alberta or plan on visiting the area, head out to my hometown of Fort Macleod and play at the oldest golf course in Canada, west of Winnipeg. The Fort Macleod Golf Course, a 9-hole beauty. That's a challenge for anyone and everyone who plays. Their cart rentals available, and be sure to take advantage of their buck-a-hole days on Wednesdays and Fridays. That's right, a buck-a-hole. Get out there to Fort Macleod Golf Course. Go to fortmacleodgolf.com. Call the clubhouse at 403-553-4664 and talk to Dell to book your tee time today. I guarantee you will have a good time on this golf course. It's an easy walk, too, if you don't want to take a cart. It's a great walk, great golf course, very challenging. I have yet to perfect. I've been playing there for 40-plus years. Part of every hole, but not every hole is good consecutively, obviously. So it's one of those things. You'll have a great time on the Fort Macleod Golf Course, the oldest in west of Winnipeg. Like I said, it's a gem that people don't go to enough. And take it. Don't just go on the loony days. Go any day of the week. They got tee times open throughout the day. So go to fortmacleodgolf.com or call Dell at 403-553-4664. 25 minutes from Lethbridge. It's well worth the drive to Fort Macleod Golf Course. Play there quite a few times over the years. Always a challenge. Always an adventure at the Fort Macleod Golf Course. Get out there today. Anyways, Brent's Best Bet brought to you by Bodog. We'll wrap up today's show. Make a play at Bodog today. Take Tampa Bay. They'll continue. The Tampa Bay Rays will continue their great season. We'll take it to the horrific Kansas City Royals. That's a bad baseball team. I don't know who's worse, Kansas City or Oakland. And Oakland's trying to be bad. Kansas City's just flat out bad. Also, take the Miami Marlins. They'll snap their 2 games good tonight and had the Pittsburgh Pirates their 10th straight loss behind the bat of Luis Arraez in his quest for 400. And take the Yankees to complete the sweep of the Seattle Mariners after getting the 14-20 strong finger wagging after I voiced my displeasure. They've won 2 in a row. So look for the Yankees to take the sweep. Put down 20. It's all home teams tonight. Put down 20. Win yourself $61.43. Sign up with our personalized link and get a $400 sign-up bonus. Make a play today at Bodog. Play often, but play responsibly at Bodog, and make you pad your pockets today at Bodog. Like I said, we have a couple guests tonight to do a hockey roundtable, so that should be a lot of laughs, a lot of talking about the Hockey Hall of Fame. A couple old friends will get together, have a laugh, and everything else. So that should be fun. Hopefully this one comes through. Like I said, technical difficulties for a couple of these today, but I got it out there to the masses, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download some old shows. Talk to people at the 1420 podcast. But more importantly, always remember, it doesn't matter where you are. It's who you're with. Have a good day, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. 4 beer with the sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.